Earlier this afternoon, the former Ivy League grad accused of gunning down the CEO of UnitedHealthcare was in court, being arraigned on federal charges. If convicted, Luigi Mangione could get the death penalty. Scripps News national correspondent Alex Miller is live in New York City outside that courthouse. Now, Alex, you were in the courtroom for the hearing today. What did you learn? What's your takeaway?
Well, Luigi Mangione pleaded guilty this morning to those federal charges, 4 of them that include charges relating to firearms, murder, and stalking charges. When he came into the courtroom, he had a haircut, he was in a tan jumpsuit, and he was shackled with his hands behind his back. And he was generally calm as he spoke with his attorneys before the proceedings and after. Now, the courtroom was completely packed with press. There were a couple of rows for the public. Nearly every member of the public there was a young woman. Chelsea Manning, the notorious whistleblower, also in the room today during this arraignment. She was there in state court as well when he was arraigned on those charges. Now, we got a schedule basically through the end of the year. The government is going to have to hand over their discovery by May 27th to the defense, and then the trial date for 2026 will be set on December 5th. There's going to be a conference hearing that day dealing with a number of issues, but the judge says that she intends to set the trial date that day. There's going to be a number of deadlines in the dates in between May 27th and December 5th, but those are arguably the 2 most important dates that we need to pay attention to this year. Now, there were a lot of points of contention during these proceedings, except for who is going to go first, the federal government or the state government. They're essentially charging Mangione with the same thing, and at the arraignment during the state charges, the state, the Manhattan District Attorney, said they were the ones that were going to go first. Now, the defense seems to have a problem with this. They say if the government is seeking the death penalty for Luigi Mangione in this case, which they have intended that they are planning to do, then they believe it's their constitutional duty to have the federal government go first. Now, they didn't decide which one will end up going first in the end. There's likely going to have to be a lot of conversations happening between the 2 sides on that before that is decided. But the judge did say that she is planning to treat this case as if it is the only case. Of course, we know, obviously, these Manhattan charges as well, but there's also charges in Pennsylvania that they have to contend with. And just before the hearing ended, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, Luigi Mangione's attorney, brought up an issue to the judge. Now, Mangione is being held right now in federal custody, despite the fact that the first indictment came with the state. And so there's been a lot of confusion about whether he should be held in federal custody or be held in state custody, and a lot of frustration from the defense side on this. And she piled onto this, essentially saying that she has found out that the Southern District of New York, the federal government, has handed over audio tapes of Luigi Mangione having conversations with his attorneys to the state, to the Manhattan District Attorney, and that they were played for at least one person on the district attorney's team. Now, apparently, the district attorneys say it was just that one person and it will not happen again, but it does raise a lot of concerns about attorney-client privilege, and the judge seemingly very frustrated about this, saying that she wants the government to hand over a letter in the next 7 days explaining what they are going to do to make sure that this doesn't happen again and that Mangione is able to speak with his attorneys on a secure line. Now, the government says that this is the first that they are hearing of this. They say it's not going to happen again, but there's definitely a lot of concern about tampering with a potential jury pool, about making sure that Mangione gets a fair trial. The judge even asking the government to talk to the Department of Justice at the end of this hearing to make sure that any person dealing with this case, all the way up to the Attorney General Pam Bondi, make sure that she does not say anything publicly that could have any sort of negative impact on the jury selection in this case.
Sounds like a lot packed in that hearing today. Scripps News national correspondent Alex Miller live for us from New York. Thank you so much.